Welcome back to Mining Stock Daily. Ian Wagner here with a corporate update from our friends at Yukon Metals. Yukon Metals is a gold and copper explorer with multiple projects across the Yukon. They trade on the CSE under the symbol YMC and on the OTCQB under the symbol YMMCF. They host a market cap of roughly $50 million Canadian. We last spoke with Yukon about a month ago or so. So I would encourage any new listeners to go back to those episodes just to check out the story, what Jim and his team have done. And with us today is the CEO of Yukon Metals, Mr. Jim Coates. Jim, good to see you. Welcome back to the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, you guys have been busy. This is the summer in the Yukon, so why don't you give us kind of the lay of the land of what's going on there? I know you announced a 5,000-meter drill campaign at AZ and Birch. You just kind of tell us what's going on and what the targets look like, what you're hoping to do.
Right. So we're working on our copper gold portfolio right now, which consists of AZ, Birch, Sumo, which we recently optioned, and the KLM property in northern BC. And this is pursuing what appears to be a belt of porphyry mineralization that extends up from British Columbia, which has the famous Golden Triangle. And our hypothesis is that that comes up through the Yukon and into Alaska, and that it's an underexplored district that's got this potential for the porphyry-style mineralization. And we are following up on last year's drilling at AZ and Birch with, as you mentioned, 2 drill projects. And we're pairing those with 3D induced polarization and resistivity studies, as well as magnetics, to really try and get a very good picture of what's under the ground. And then we can correlate those results with the drilling.
Yeah, maybe just remind people what you guys did find last year and kind of where you had to leave it, because of the winter and the weather and things like that. But like you guys aren't starting from scratch here. Just kind of maybe reset what the context is and why you're so excited to drill these 2. Well, I should say 3, including Sumo. But why you're focused where you're focused.
Yeah, I mean, one of the hardest part about working in the Yukon is you get your drill results in the fall, and then you've got all winter to stew on them and get excited for the next season in the spring. And what we got right at the end of the year last year from particularly the AZ property was the last hole that we drilled came up with potassic mineralization, that's associated with being on the periphery of a mineralized system. And the geochemical clues that we got from that hole were very indicative of a porphyry-style mineralization. So we got that at about the same time as we managed to do one geophysics line, about a 2.5 kilometer long induced polarization survey, which showed us a pattern that's quite consistent with porphyries. So that's a high chargeability, which is where you charge the earth up kind of like a battery, and where that charge decays the slowest is where you see the sulfide mineralization that's you find in a porphyry, and that corresponded with resistivity low, and that's where the electricity just has an easier time moving through the ground. Again, that corresponds with that sulfide mineralization. So we had that data to work with last year, in addition to a number of surface soil samples that showed the copper and gold values that were aligned with what you'd expect to see for that porphyry-style setting. So this year we've been drilling at AZ. We started at the end of May, and that's proceeding as we speak. And we're able to use the results we got from last year's drilling and geophysics to more precisely target those holes. And so we're doing a first round of drilling at AZ. We'll look at what results we get back from that once we get the results back from the labs, and be able to combine that with the geophysics and get a very good picture of what's going on there. So that's AZ. Birch, last year we drilled the property for the first time really where it's been drilled properly with a modern diamond drill. And again, that followed up on geophysics. And that showed us that we had a skarn system, relatively large, and around 700 meters in strike length, which is significant, and where we're hitting discrete zones of copper mineralization and gold mineralization that showed that we've got, again, that we're on the edge of a larger system, that there's something that's causing or that did cause that heat under the ground and pushed the metal-bearing fluids through the rocks and formed the mineralization that we intercepted with the drill holes. So again, that drilling last year showed us that we're on the periphery of something bigger. And this year's drill campaign is both to infill, and so drill along that 700-meter strike and find out more information about the skarn deposit, as well as to just try and find the clues that will direct us towards the larger system that would have caused this. And so that drilling, again, is in concert with a three-dimensional induced polarization survey, examining the entire area and looking for the deeper structures that we can use to target the next round of drilling.
So kind of just on the granularity of the drill campaign. So is that 2,000 meters at AZ, 3,000 meters at Birch? Do I have them mixed up?
And then correct. Yeah, that's the plan. It was 2,000 at AZ and then around 3,000 at Birch.
Okay. And just curious, how deep are those holes? What are you looking at there, and kind of how and across how many targets?
Oh, so we try and get relatively deep in the 400 plus meter range with those holes, just especially when you're in these early stages where you can drill angled holes and you're looking for the center of a mineralized zone that you don't really know exactly where it is. You're able to look with a long hole and see whether the mineralization is increasing along the hole or decreasing. So it becomes like an arrow pointing either towards or away from the mineralized center. And so that's why we're drilling these angled and relatively deep holes.
Staying on Birch, you guys filed your technical report for Birch a couple weeks back, and there was something that kind of stood out to me. I mean, it was really this new surface target identified, right? Sort of these high grade gold, copper, silver rock samples about 2 kilometers south of, I think, what the previously drilled area from last, and it showed a large molybdenum soil anomaly. Now, is the idea there that might be the source, of the porphyry, should there be one? And that's kind of what where you guys are drilling this summer?
So yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that, because that's one of the things that really jumped out to us internally, was that the soils showed this zone of high moly or molybdenum on the surface, and that corresponded with quartz veins with high gold in them. But more importantly, there's a radiometric ratio of potassium and thorium that when that ratio tips in a certain direction, that also indicates a porphyry-style mineralization. So we have that overlaps with this molybdenum high. We also have the presence of another element called tellurium. And tellurium is very associated with porphyries. So we've got 3 overlapping, indicators on the surface of that porphyry-style mineralization. And we're running our geophysical surveys over that zone right now. And that'll give us the structural information that'll help determine whether or not we're actually looking at the larger system that would have produced the Birch skarn several kilometers away. So at this point, it's just a hypothesis, but we've got multiple overlapping layers of evidence that this could be the source area that would have produced the mineralization a couple of kilometers away.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
And all those things require money. You guys did close a financing, a $13 million Canadian financing a couple weeks ago. That was a mix of flow through and hard dollar units. Do you want to just talk about how that came together and kind of what that gives you in terms of, stability, confidence, flexibility, things like that?
Exactly. That went quite well. We had excellent support from our core shareholder group. Was very supportive of us, and especially at a time when geopolitically there's been a lot of instability in the last several weeks. So it's quite the time to launch a financing, and but it all came through quite well. And this gives us enough money in the bank, both in that mix of hard dollars and flow through, to really pursue these targets and drill them out the way that they should be properly, so we can do follow-up drilling at both AZ and Birch this year once we've determined more targets. as well as the generative work and the rest of the project pipeline, because we have a lot of projects.
Yes, you
And
do.
we always keep a crew busy going around to the earlier stage ones and just looking for the same kind of indicators that we saw at Birch and AZ when we first visited those sites. So very early stage prospecting, but in an area as vast and as prospective as the Yukon, sometimes that's all you need to see is one green rock sticking out of a hillside that nobody has ever noticed before, and you're on track to find something new.
Yeah, I can't let you go without asking just about Yukon. I mean, it's middle of June, right? Snow's gone. I mean, everything's. I got to imagine the activity level there is pretty high. It's going to be tell us what you're seeing, hearing when you're on the ground out there. I mean, is it? You're from the Yukon, so you know this area, and you know kind of when there's increased attention. Just maybe give us a sense of kind of what's going on in the district and there.
It's about as busy as I've ever seen it. One of the indicators is watching drill rigs come up the highway on the backs of semi trucks, because there's one point going through Whitehorse where just about every rig that's coming up from, I guess, southern Canada has to pass through. So you can almost count the rigs as they're moving through. And that's been nonstop all spring. And also, the helicopters are very busy. It's almost impossible to get a helicopter now if you haven't arranged for it already. And same thing, almost all the drills are spoken for. It's been a really hot year, and that's a combination of the rising in commodity prices and just the fact that the Yukon's become a more friendly place to work with a change in government. A very mining positive government came in last year, and more predictable permitting, and just there's a real sense of excitement in the place right now. So both from the investor standpoint and from the people on the ground who are actually doing work.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if that's kind of too, like now with that pro mining government in there, and just the sense of the scale of the Yukon, right? I mean, the size is just massive, but then along with that, just the kind of endowment there, and the fact that it hasn't been staked and explored the way BC has, right? It's just
No, we're not talking about BC or Nevada or somewhere that have had people all over it. There are vast swaths of the Yukon where there's been almost no prospecting even. So lots of opportunity for discovery in a place where there's a lot of different styles of mineralization in the Yukon, because it's basically every set of mountain ranges comes with a different set of mineralization. So you have lead, zinc, silver districts, you've got gold districts, you've got copper gold districts, you have tungsten districts. And so within that one jurisdiction, you've got the opportunity to work on a number of different commodities.
Well, listen, we will look to catch up with you as the drills turn. When do you expect results, and what kind of cadence of activity should investors look for from Yukon over the summer?
As far as when I hope for results or when I expect results?
Yeah, right. A mix of both, maybe.
That's all dependent.
Split the difference.
Yes. I'm hoping for results midsummer. We'll see when they actually arrive, but that's dependent on the labs. We've got geophysics results that are coming in, so we'll be able to put those out as well. And there will be cadence throughout the summer. The programs are ongoing, and so we'll be able to deliver news right into the fall.
Excellent. Well, listen, we'll leave it there for today. Jim, that is Jim Coates with Yukon Metals. Jim, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming by.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, Ian.
Yukon Metals trades on the CSE under the symbol YMC and on the OTCQB under the symbol YMMCF. The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.